Hello, everyone. Welcome to Emotional Alchemy, day one today. I'm so happy to be able to do this video today for you. Um, I know mom life is a complicated thing, so I never get that stressed when people don't join live because I know you can always watch the replay, and this is exactly what this is for. That's why I always record those sessions and videos so that you can always catch up. Um, so today we talk about emotional regulation. Before we go into that topic, because it's an extremely important topic, and before we are able to transmute those emotions and turn them into power, we need to find a way to tune into our bodies. And that's exactly emotional regulation. Before we get into that, I want to share something with all of you that's very important to me, not only as a mom, but as a woman living right now on this planet Earth, is that my greatest dream, you can say my mission here in this coaching space, in this on my coaching journey, is that we do this work not only for ourselves, but we do this work most of all for our children, because I know what we do here and now in this moment in this place, the work we're doing to become a better person, to become better people, to create a better environment for our own kids, like at home. When you become this regulated, safe person for your children, that's what rewires their brain for safety. And then you create that ripple effect, not only through um, being that safe space for your child, but also through interacting with other people. Because when you learn those emotional regulation skills, you act differently, even outside of parenting, in your workplace, in your family, with other adults. So you create that ripple effect. You diffuse conflict. You diffuse those situations that can spark those like aggressive situations. And my greatest dream, my mission is that one day, and I believe it won't be during my lifetime. It might be later on. It might be a few generations ahead of us, a few generations further on. Um, that one day we become um, so attuned to our emotions that children are raised, all children are raised in safety and love, and all mothers are supported, that the village is the default. The village is the basic thing. It's not something that we need to strive for or try to organize for ourselves. It's the natural state of being of a community, of our society, that we are supported, we are always held by the so-called elders, by the aunts, by the but not only the women, not the grandmas and aunts only, but also by the men as well in our lives. That this is um, that motherhood is perceived as the very natural and most important thing that we as a species can do. And right now, what I see outside in the streets, in the shopping centers, everywhere, motherhood tends to be perceived as a burden, not only to the mother, but also to the society. Like how many times people frown upon children behaving like children in public spaces. Um, so if we want our humankind to survive, we need children. And those children need the right kind of space to be accepted, to be loved, um, um, to feel safe in the environment we create for them. And this is my greatest dream. And this is what I really believe we are slowly moving towards. Like when we watch what the situation was like in the 90s on or at the beginning of the 21st century, it has already improved. Hmm. And I believe we are every every decade brings us closer to that. So this is my greatest dream, my greatest goal, and this is why I do what I do, my little like chipping in into that, um, by creating the space for moms to uh, get the right kind of knowledge about children's development and things like that, to create the space where mothers can um, do the inner work that is required, because sometimes you when you get the knowledge you still get into those old patterns because that's the subconscious um, conditioning that we had undergone during our own childhood and up to now. Um, so it's not only something that knowledge itself can fix. We as ourselves, we don't need fixing. We just need to shed those layers of conditioning. And then what will be left is only love. And that's where we can truly begin the sacred work of parenting. Um, so that's what I want for us to build, for the world to create, not only for mothers, but like mothers are the safe space where children grow. So what we do is actually for those children and for the future generation to have to live in a better world, basically. And why emotional regulation? I already said that for me personally, this is the most important parenting skill that every one of us can um, learn. So when my firstborn, he's now 8, so it was 6 years ago, when he was 2, I was in a very dark place. I was struggling with anxiety, and the situation in my workplace was very difficult. So I finally had a mental breakdown. And I realized that my anxiety, my emotions were impacting how my son was behaving. He was 2. Uh, he started being much more clingy than before. He wouldn't go to sleep. He wouldn't let me leave house. So my emotions directly impacted his behavior, and my anxiety created his anxiety. So that's when I realized that I need to finally find a way to deal with my own emotions, to somehow tame them because they were hurting my child. So it wasn't working anymore for me to be this kind of anxious person. Um, and soon after that decision, I realized, no, I found out about emotional regulation. And it's a very simple process. So what I teach is just 5 steps. So you can do that. You can print it out, put on your fridge, and relate to that, refer to that whenever you feel like emotions are spiraling. Um, when I started doing that, everything changed, and I was so mind blown how simple that is that I decided to share that with the world. So I wrote about it on my blog. I wasn't a coach yet. I didn't have a business. I only had a blog. Um, so I wrote about it on my blog, but that didn't feel enough. So I decided to actually create this coaching space and to help moms, guide moms through the process of emotional regulation. I created a course called Feel Your Anger, Speak Your Calm. That was basically my first coaching program, because whatever behavioral struggles you have with your child, most of them, like 99% of them, can be solved by simply connecting. But you won't be able to connect if your own anger, fear, guilt, frustration are spiraling, because you are in the fight or flight mode then, and you cannot connect from the fight or flight mode. You need to get your nervous system regulated so that you can connect with your child on an emotional level, empathic level. And then through that connection, solutions can be built. With small children like my son at that time, when he was 2, connection is enough, because all those children need is to feel safe with their parent, mom or dad or another safe person. But the connection is enough for children that small. Then with older children, it gets more and more complex as they grow. Sometimes you need to use like verbal communication. But if you're angry or frustrated and you start asking questions from that state, you won't get the answers you want. You will get resistance. So you, anyway, whatever age your children are, first you need to regulate your own system. Then you can start fixing the behavior. And sometimes when you regulate yourself and your child regulates at the same time, or you co-regulate, the problem might disappear by itself. It may turn out that there are no solutions needed. All you needed was to simply tune into your body and feel your feelings and let them go. And everything is fixed by itself, because most of the time we don't need fixing. Most of the time it's just that we simply um, activate those subconscious conditioned patterns that don't allow us to be fully present. And very often that's all they need. Um, so that's where my coaching journey started. And I helped so many moms, and I hope you will be able to use some of the tools that I shared today right away. If you feel you want to dive deeper into that topic, I will share some ways you can start working with me right away. If that's something you want, nothing very pressurizing. The last thing I want for anyone here to is to feel pressurized. So the framework I used in my very first coaching program is called the Steps of Emotional Regulation. And I had this acronym STEPS. I will actually, it would be very useful if I could show you the steps. Just bear with me for a second. Where is this? Here. Okay. So, the steps of emotional regulation. I will also link this image in the Awakened Mothers Rising group, so you can download it. You can print it out. You can put it on your fridge and refer to that. Sorry, refer to that every time you feel you need that, to anchor yourself, to follow the framework that will guide you through the whole process. So, first of all, you need to realize what emotions you're feeling. What's your emotional state in the moment? So, am I angry? Am I sad? Am I frustrated? Am I irritated? Am I afraid of something? Or maybe it's mom guilt, maybe it's shame. there are all sorts of emotions that can trigger other emotions and get us to spiral. When you pause and stop and realize, okay, I am feeling this. Like for me, it was usually anger. Like, that's why my first program was about regulating anger, because that's um when we actually start hurting our children. So the next step is to realize what triggered the emotion. And this is a tricky part because we usually get into blaming everyone around because you got me angry. Like, no, actually, it's not the outside circumstances that get you angry, it's the thoughts that you think about the circumstances. So the thing is, the same situation may create a very different reaction from everyone. Um, for example, I love the example of shoes left in the hall when kids come home from school. They drop their shoes in the middle of the hall and rush to their room to play with their friends. So one mom enters the hall, she sees the shoes, and she thinks my children are disrespectful because there is a rule. You put your shoes on the shelf or to the cupboard or anywhere. Um, you put them away, and then you go play. She will get angry because she thinks her children are disrespectful, and that triggers the anger. Another mom will walk into the hall and she will think, oh my goodness, I have so much to do, and now I also have to pick up all those shoes. That mom will get overwhelmed. Uh, Another mom will go to the hall and she will think, my children feel safe in the space that I created for them. And that third mom won't get angry. She won't get overwhelmed. She will be happy to see the shoes on the floor. Even though it is something that usually doesn't make us happy, but in her mind, it created a very different meaning. And the thoughts we think are our choice. So I may choose to think that something happened because someone wanted to get me angry or to push my buttons or to well, you know all those situations, I'm sure. And then I might think something very different. Like I usually start, I learned that through that process. I started assuming that nobody wishes me bad. So, for example, when something happens, like when I was still working at school, um, what was that situation? Something happened, and one of my colleagues said, well, because they do that on purpose, because they don't like us, because we are not treated with respect. And I was like, it doesn't seem it was done on purpose. Like using the Occam razor, the most plausible explanation was that somebody simply forgot or that somebody wasn't paying attention. And then when I actually asked and clarified the situation, it turned out that that was the case. Uh, yeah, actually, I think 2 days ago, I asked my husband why he ignored something. And he said that he simply didn't notice it. So Occam's razor was the simplest explanation. That's usually the true one. And people usually don't care. That's also like, it's not a bad thing. It simply means that um, we don't have to look for reasons that might get us angry because most things that might irritate us are simply caused by someone not paying attention because they are people are actually quite selfish. Everybody thinks mainly about themselves. Like I think about myself most of the time. Um, and sometimes I just need to be pointed at some issues to actually realize there are issues. So when we realize, coming back to the steps, when we realize in what emotional state we are, we realize what thoughts triggered that emotional state. Um, the third step is to empathize, to offer empathy to yourself, just like you would empathize with your best friend, with your sister or colleague at work. If they were going through a similar thing, what would you tell her? And now put a mirror in front of you and reflect that onto yourself. How would you treat your best friend? And now treat yourself that way. I notice that we usually offer ourselves much less grace than we offer other people. So empathize with yourself just like you would empathize with your best friend. So when I realized, for example, let's take the example with the shoes. I realized I'm angry because my kids left the shoes on the floor. And what triggered me was the thought that they are disrespectful. In fact, they weren't disrespectful. They just didn't notice. They forgot. They were thinking about playing, not thinking about the shoes. The shoes were the least of their worries at that moment. So, okay, well, of course, thinking that my children might be disrespectful could create that trigger that made me angry. This is the only logical explanation, only logical path. So I empathize with myself. I allow myself to feel that anger. I don't push it away. Let this emotion be. Let this emotion stay. Stay with it. Stay with it. Just don't let it consume you because you are not the emotion. The emotion is just an information. It's a way of communication between your subconscious and your conscious and your soul. But that's a different story. Subconscious and conscious. The subconscious feels, and then when we bring that to the conscious, then we can actually interpret that piece of information. So the letter P, I wrote perk up, and that's how I used it for many, many years. Right now, I prefer the version with process. So when you empathize with yourself, you allow yourself to feel the feeling. So this is when you feel the feeling, allow it to be. When it's already felt, it gave you the information that it wanted to give you, then it's the time to actually move away from it. First, it needs to be heard. It's like with the kids. So if your kid wants to show you a picture, and you tell the child you just need to wait for 10 minutes, go away, I don't want it, right, I cannot do it right now because I'm working or anything, the child will be persistent and stay with that picture to show you for as long as it takes for you to actually look at it. And then when you look at that picture, it will take like 5 seconds for the child to smile and rush away, because children and emotions just want to give you that one piece of information. They just want to be validated for their existence. Like, here I am, this is me, bye bye. So for the letter P, we process that emotion. It means we move away from it. If you're angry, you might want to release that energy because anger creates energy. There is a lot of adrenaline, sugar in your bloodstream, so you need to use it up somehow. Go for a run, go for a walk, punch a boxing bag, anything that allows you to physically release that. Punch a pillow or a cushion. Just do something to release that from your body. With different emotions, you can use different tools. For me, for example, for frustration or overwhelm, what works best is writing down a to-do list just to get it off my head and onto the paper. I don't have to do that. I just want to get it off my head. Um, if you're sad, do something that cheers you up. Get your favorite snack, go for a walk, cuddle, snuggle, um, talk it out. Um, find someone to support you through that. If your frustration, overwhelming, or sad, what was left? Um, anyway, do the opposite. Like when you feel a certain emotion, do something that leads you to the opposite emotion. And once you're regulated, so you've realized what you're feeling, realized why you're feeling that way, allowed this emotion to be, and moved away from it, you have regulated your nervous system. This process, it usually takes much fast. It's much faster than explaining that. Realizing what you're feeling is a split second. Realizing what triggered you is a split second. Empathizing with yourself, it can be seconds to minutes. Doing the opposite might be a couple of minutes. So the whole process can be done within 5 minutes from as soon as you realize what you're feeling. And then you go into solutions. So you don't go into solutions while you're still angry. You only do that when you are grounded and regulated. Sometimes it might turn out that you don't need any solutions at all, because just regulating your nervous system was enough to solve all the problems. So this is the emotional regulation process. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. If you have any suggestions, reflections, want to share some ahas, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will be answering everything as we go. And this is a very simple thing, a simple tool, very easy work. The most difficult part is actually stopping yourself when the emotions begin to spiral. That's the difficult part. That's the part where you actually need to practice it beforehand. So anger is level hard. You can start with easier emotions, so just be mindful. That's why I ask you in the morning to notice what your feelings, what you're feeling, what your emotions are, and just notice that. Because when you practice noticing your emotions, when you're calm, when you're just slightly irritated, when you're just tired, when you're joyful, when you're happy, you notice how your body feels. You notice where that emotion is in your body. You notice the differences, the slight differences between different emotional states. And then when you begin to get angry, you can stop yourself before it spirals. And you stop yourself, okay, I need to do the 5 steps. And that's how you actually process that. Um, I know moms are always busy. And I know there is the busiest time of the year just ahead of us. If you're in the US, you have the Thanksgiving this week. If you are not, like I'm not, um, but most of us have Christmas in a month from now, like exactly a month from now. So from my experience, this is the most stressful month for moms, when we not only have all the logistics to take care of, but also like the gifts, the secrets to make it fun for the kids, so they actually keep believing in those magical preachers. It's all very stressful. It's very triggering. And that's why many people hate Christmas. That's why many people say it's the most difficult time of the year because it is challenging for moms. It is challenging for most of us. This is why it's especially important right now to take care of your nervous system and start now. Because if you start a week before Christmas, you will be already um, it will be already too late. So start now, practice those 5 steps, and if you want to um, work more deeply on that, I will share in a second how you can do that right now. And I don't want to put any more strain or frustration on you because I know you will be going through a lot anyway. So I just want you to decide right now. Like take your journal, take a pen, and write down, I decide. And what do you decide to do for the next month so that your children don't get what's left of you? Because your children deserve to get the best of you. And you are the only person who can give them that. I know many of us have this kind of thought. I had that too, that I am the way I am because of how my childhood unfolded, because of some past events, because of the way I was treated by that person and that person and that person. But okay, it happened. And I get to decide what I do with those events, whether I allow them to consume me right now, or do I move on and take full responsibility for the person that I'm showing up as. This is my decision. I made that decision consciously. Like by the time my son was 2, going back to the story I told you at the beginning, my parents divorced when I was a teen. And since that event, I was on and off therapy for a stretch of 18 years. And that therapy didn't give me the results that I needed. It was like supporting me on the journey, on and off, because sometimes I was better, sometimes I was worse, depending on how my life unfolded. But then, when my son was 2, and I finally saw that my anxiety was hurting him, I made the decision. This is the point when I change. This is the point when I get full responsibility for my emotions and how I show up as a mom. That one conscious decision created a whole avalanche of change in my life. Because when I started regulating my own nervous system, I stopped being a victim of my own story. I started being the main character of the story of my life. I stepped into, I didn't know that at that time. That's the most mind-blowing thing. I was just doing the next right, taking the next right step. Just taking the next right step. But right now, when I look at that, 6 years later, I see that clearly that I made that decision, and that decision led me to finally finding the right resources, finding the right path to become the mom that I wanted to be. And I'm still not perfect. I'm still making mistakes. I still get angry sometimes because I'm human. But I have the tools and I know how to use them. And that decision guided me directly to my spiritual awakening a year later. And that guided me onto the spiritual path where I'm at right now. That guided me to coaching, that guided me to spiritual coaching, and that guided me to becoming a spiritual motherhood mentor. Um, so make that decision. Do you want this Christmas in a month from now to be just like it's been every year so far? Or do you want it to be based on connection, love, and allowing yourself to enjoy it, to actually just enjoy it finally? So if you want to do that, I'm going to share. I don't usually do that. I hate, like, most of the people in spiritual coaching hate self promotion, like, hate selling their offers. And I'm one of them. But I just want to support you on that journey so much that I'm actually going to step out of my comfort zone and speak clearly about my offers that I have for you. And every day I will share something new. So this is also a new thing. I never did that. So today I want to talk about pocket coaching. So I will actually show the screen again. Here, here, and here. Okay, so this is something, this is one of my favorite offers. It's called pocket coaching. So it doesn't require sessions. It's just me and you chatting and dropping voice notes. And you might think this is just like chatting to a friend, but believe me, I've had clients who had um, tremendous ahas and amazing success just after a week of pocket coaching. For example, one of my clients, her daughter was 4 and she just started school, preschool, and she had meltdowns every day before preschool. After a week of pocket coaching, she was like a totally different kid. She actually, after 2 weeks, she told her mom she wanted to go preschool. Um, so that's her daughter. And another one, after a month, she actually bought my one-on-one intensive, but because of logistics, we couldn't find the time for the sessions for a month because always something happened in her life. So we did pocket coaching for a month only. Um, and she stopped raising her voice. She stopped anger after just a month of simply pocket coaching. So pocket coaching is usually 111 per week or 270 per month. Um, but right now, only till the end of this month, when you actually start it, till the end of this month, you can get a month of pocket coaching for just 111 and one-on-one session extra in that, because I always want to see you and ask you what you actually want to work on before we start this pocket coaching. And this won't be just like a 15-minute check-in, it will be a full 1 hour call um, with me. So we will actually do some deep inner work with maybe a meditation, probably a card reading, and a lot of spiritual guidance. So um, that's my first gift that I have today. So if you want to take advantage of that and prepare yourself and your nervous system for the Christmas this year, let me know. DM me or comment, and I will DM you and I will get you the link. So I will also have a short card reading for you for the collective. So let's see what's in the cards. I will pull 3 cards. Oh, one already popped out. So it's Unbound. I love this. It's not focused, but you can see the image and I will read what is written. So it says, releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. So this is exactly what we are doing. We are rewiring our nervous systems and releasing soul patterns. We are doing something previous generations didn't do. The next one is awakening. Awakening. It says energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. So, yeah, when you rewire your nervous system, you actually are going through an energetic upgrade, aren't you? And the last one, Anna, the grandmother of Jesus. So, this is one of the patrons of motherhood. Seeding the light, laying foundations and divine plan. And this is also very in tune in with what we talked about because regulating your nervous system is the basic foundation on which you can start building better family life, better emotional life, better relationships, romantic relationships, relationships at work with other people anywhere, with other family members. So when you do that, this is in perfect alignment with what we just said. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Just leave all your thoughts, aha moments, questions, anything, or whether you want to start pocket coaching today. Drop all that in the comments and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye bye.